She said I'm on a spiritual journey. I need a partner who vibrates at my frequency and used it as an excuse to cheat. I replied, I support your growth. Then I started my own journey of self-improvement and financial success. She discovered my new frequency when I left her because my life no longer had room for liars. My ex-girlfriend Maya used to talk a lot about frequencies. It was her favorite word. According to her, everyone was vibrating at a certain level. Happy people had a high frequency. Sad or angry people had a low frequency. The goal of life, she said, was to raise your vibration. It's been about a year since we broke up and I've thought a lot about that. She was right in a way. Our frequencies were off. She was looking for a shortcut to the sky and I had my hands in the dirt trying to build a foundation. This is the story of how I stopped trying to match her frequency and just built my own rocket ship instead. To understand how things ended, you need to understand how they began. I grew up in a family where you worked hard, you paid your bills, and if you had something left over, you saved it. I was the first person in my family to go to college. I got a degree in computer science and landed a decent but grueling job as a junior software developer. My dream was never to be a billionaire, it was just to be secure. To have a life where I didn't have to check my bank account before buying groceries. I met Maya in my last year of college. She was an art history major and she was like no one I'd ever met. She was spontaneous and passionate and she saw the world in colors while I saw it in code. We fell in love. We moved into a tiny cheap apartment after graduation and we were a team. I'd work my 9 to 5 and she worked part-time at a museum. We'd pool our money, dream about the future, and we were happy. The foundation was solid. The shift started about 3 years into our relationship. Maya got laid off from the museum due to budget cuts. I wasn't worried. My career was starting to take off and I was making enough to support us both. I told her to take her time to find something she was truly passionate about. That's when she discovered the world of wellness and spirituality. It started innocently enough. A yoga class here, a meditation app there. But then it became her entire personality. She started spending hundreds of dollars on crystals, each one supposedly having a different energetic property. Our apartment began to smell constantly of sage and incense. She started talking about our auras and how mine was a little murky. Then came Kai. Kai was her spiritual guide. He was a tall, thin man with a perfectly sculpted man bun, a wardrobe of white linen pants, and the kind of serene, knowing smile that instantly made me want to check my wallet. He ran a consciousness center out of a rented storefront downtown. He offered workshops on everything from manifesting abundance to chakra alignment. These workshops, of course, were not cheap. Suddenly, a huge portion of our shared income money I was earning from my 60-hour work weeks was being diverted to fund her spiritual journey with Kai. A weekend vibrational healing retreat would cost $2,000. A private energy reading session was $500. I tried to talk to her about it. I told her that we were supposed to be saving for a house for our future. Her response was always the same, delivered with a look of pitying disappointment. "You're too stuck in the material plane, Leo," she'd say. "You don't understand that this is an investment in our energetic well-being. When we're aligned, the abundance will follow." But the abundance wasn't following. Our savings account was dwindling and my stress levels were skyrocketing. Kai became a constant presence in our life. She would text him at all hours of the day and night. She'd be at dinner with me, but she'd be smiling at a text from him. She started having late-night meditation sessions at his center. She was pulling away from me and our life together, and she was using spirituality as the excuse. The real betrayal, the moment the foundation cracked for good, happened about a year and a half ago. I came home from work early one day. I was planning to surprise her and take her out to a nice dinner. When I got to our apartment, her car was gone. On a whim, I opened the Find My Friends app on my phone. We'd set it up years ago for practical reasons like finding each other in a crowd. I saw her location pin. She wasn't at Kai's consciousness center. She wasn't at the yoga studio. She was at a 5-star hotel on the other side of the city. I felt a cold dread creep up my spine. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe she was at a conference. Maybe she was meeting a friend. I drove there. I sat in my car in the parking garage across the street feeling like a fool. I waited for over an hour. Then I saw them, her and Kai, walking out of the hotel lobby. He had his arm around her waist. They weren't glowing with spiritual enlightenment. They looked like any other couple after a secret afternoon rendezvous. They were laughing. He leaned down and kissed her. A long, slow kiss that was anything but platonic. Then she got in her car and he got in his and they drove away in opposite directions. I just sat there, my hands gripping the steering wheel as the entire world I had built for us collapsed into a pile of rubble. The lies, the money, the condescension. It all came crashing down on me. I drove home. I sat on the couch in our dark apartment and waited. She came in around 7 p.m. humming, holding a bag of groceries. She was playing the part of the dutiful girlfriend. "Hey honey," she said cheerfully. I was just at a deep meditation circle feeling so aligned. I was thinking I'd make us that curry you like. I didn't get up. I just looked at her from the couch. My voice was quiet. "How was the hotel, Maya?" The cheerful mask melted off her face. Panic then anger flashed in her eyes. She tried to deny it, of course. She said I was crazy, that I was tracking her, that I was being controlling. But I was relentless. I described the hotel. I described the clothes she was wearing. I described the kiss. Finally she broke. But there were no 2 tears of remorse. There was no apology. There was just a cold, arrogant justification. "It wasn't cheating, Leo," she said, her voice full of a strange, pitying superiority. "You wouldn't understand. Kai and I are just vibrating at the same frequency. Our connection is on a different plane. I'm on a spiritual journey and I need a partner who can meet me at my energetic level. It's not about you. It's about my growth." She had cheated on me and she was framing it as my spiritual failing. I was a low vibration partner holding her back from her enlightened destiny. The sheer breathtaking arrogance of it was almost impressive. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. The hurt was so profound it was paralyzing. I just looked at this woman who had become a complete stranger and I nodded. "I support your growth," I said. That was the last real conversation we ever had as a couple. I didn't break up with her. I didn't tell her to leave. I made a different decision. If I was the one stuck on the material plane, then I was going to master that plane. If my hard work and ambition were a low frequency, I was going to turn up the volume until it was a deafening roar. I was going to start my own journey. And it had nothing to do with crystals. For the next 18 months I became a ghost in our relationship. I continued to pay my half of the bills. I was polite. I was distant. But my focus had shifted entirely. I was on a mission. Maya was so wrapped up in her own self-important journey with Kai, spending weeks at a time at his expensive retreats, that she barely noticed. She just saw me as the same boring, reliable guy always there to keep the lights on. My journey started with my career. I stopped just doing my job and started trying to dominate it. I took on the hardest projects, the ones no one else wanted. I worked nights, I worked weekends. I taught myself 3 new coding languages. My bosses noticed I got a promotion, then another. My salary nearly doubled in a year. But the real work was happening at night. For years I had a side project, an idea for a mobile app that would help small businesses streamline their logistics. I had always been too tired or too busy with our relationship to work on it seriously. Now it became my obsession. Every night from 9 p.m. until 2 a.m. I was in our spare bedroom, which had become my office, just coding, writing lines, debugging, designing the interface. It was the hardest I had ever worked in my life. My journey was also physical. I stopped ordering takeout and started cooking healthy meals. I started running. At first I could barely make it around the block. A year later I was running half marathons. I got into the best shape of my life. I felt powerful. I felt clear. And my journey was financial. Every extra dollar I earned from my promotions and from a few small freelance projects I invested. I didn't spend it on luxuries. I opened a brokerage account. I read books on investing. I learned about index funds, about real estate, about building long-term wealth. I was taking my material plane and I was conquering it. All this time Maya was blissfully unaware. She was too busy decalcifying her pineal gland or whatever nonsense Kai was selling her that week. Our apartment was just a pit stop for her between spiritual adventures. I was just the guy who made sure the rent was paid. After 18 months of this relentless grind, it happened. I got an offer for my app. A big tech company in Silicon Valley wanted to buy it. The offer was life-changing. It was more money than my grandfather had earned in his entire life. It was the kind of abundance that Maya was trying to manifest by buying expensive rocks. But I had created it with a keyboard and a sheer force of will. I didn't tell her. I finalized the deal. I hired a financial advisor. I bought a house, a beautiful modern place in a city I'd always wanted to live in. I furnished it. I got my entire new life set up and ready to go. Then I came home. She was there, just back from a week-long silent retreat. She was complaining that her car was making a funny noise and that she needed money for a new set of organic fair trade yoga clothes. I sat her down on the same couch where she had told me about her frequency. Maya, I said, we need to talk about our spiritual journeys. She looked at me, a flicker of interest in her eyes. Oh, are you finally ready to do the work? I have been doing the work, I said. For the last year and a half I've been on my own journey of growth, and I think my life is now vibrating at a frequency that you can no longer be a part of. She looked at me completely confused. What are you talking about? I'm talking about my new life, I said. I told her everything. About the promotions. About the app. About the sale. About the new house. I told her I was leaving. Not the apartment. I was leaving our life. The look on her face was a sight to behold. It was like watching a cartoon character run off a cliff and stand in midair for a few seconds before realizing there's nothing underneath them. The serene spiritual mask disappeared, replaced by a raw, desperate panic. What? No, she said. You can't. We're a team. Your success is our success. No, Maya, I said, standing up. We stopped being a team a long time ago. You were very clear about that. You went on your journey and it led you to another man. My journey led me here, and my new life, my new frequency, it doesn't have any room for liars or users. She started to plead. She said she could change. She said she loved me. She said she was ready to get on my frequency. I just shook my head. I supported your growth, Maya, I said. I gave you the space and the money to go on your journey. It was a journey away from me. This is my journey now. I moved out the next day. I left her in the apartment we had once shared. With her crystals and her incense and her stack of bills she now had no way to pay. I heard through a mutual friend that her world fell apart pretty quickly. Her spiritual guide Kai disappeared from her life as soon as he realized his primary source of funding was gone. She couldn't afford the rent. She had to move back in with her parents. She was left with nothing but a vocabulary of empty buzzwords and a whole lot of bad karma. I'm in my new house now. It's quiet. It's clean. My work is thriving. I'm building a new life, a new foundation. She was so busy trying to raise her vibration that she never realized that real growth, real power comes from the ground up. It comes from hard work. It comes from discipline. She was looking for a shortcut to enlightenment, and she missed the rocket ship that was being built in the room right next to her.